Hey guys, and welcome back to Making Spirituality Real with Jade. Today we are going back to the astrology corner of my channel, and we're going to tackle a subject that's very asked by many people in the astrology community in general, something that people, especially those who are new to astrology, are wondering about on a regular basis, and that is which house system to use while drawing up a natal chart. Now, first a disclaimer, yes, there is a level of subjectivity to this question, and probably you won't find the same answer with all astrologers. This is just my take on it. Of course, you can disagree. This is just what I've taken out of working 4 years with myself, friends, clients. This is just basically also my intuitive skills being put to use, since I'm also an intuitive. So I use my actual astrology skills, my actual factual skills mixed with my intuition, and this is what tells me basically which house system is right. Now, I'm just going to start by just talking about my personal favorite straight away, and my personal favorite is the whole signs house system. However, that is not the default house system that you're going to find when you are new to astrology and you draw up a chart online. The default house system you're going to get is Placidus. Now, what's the difference between them, and why do I prefer whole signs to Placidus? An astrology chart is basically one of the circular patterns of the sacred geometry of life. If you are into sacred geometry, then you know a bit about this, but this is off topic, so I'm not going to get too much into it. So basically, what's really important with an astrology chart of a person is symmetry of the energies. What does that mean? That means that an astrology chart in a circle is based on a specific ascendant or so-called rising sign. And with that rising sign placed in a specific zodiac sign, the other 11 signs are going to be in a specific harmonic angle, in a specific harmonic order that forms a whole. And so basically the circular harmony of the chart is based upon each sign ruling each house consecutively, one after the other. For example, for me as a Scorpio rising, it's important that after the Scorpio rising, Sagittarius is going to be ruling the second house cusp, and so on and so forth, down to Libra in the 12th house cusp. Why is that? Because every house is a foundation for the next house, which means that basically a previous house builds a foundation for the next house to follow. And so when we have an ascendant sign, this ascendant sign is the basic pathway of life. Now, what happens is that planets are more like activating focal points that show you which area of a given rising sign's path is going to be activated for a given person in this given incarnation. Of course, when we go to details, we go down to degrees. And this makes the person even more of an individual, together with the aspects the planets make between each other. Now, the thing is that Placidus distorts this system in such a way that it ruins the harmony of one house following after the other. And so, for example, to use myself, in whole signs I have Jupiter and Libra in the 12th house, which of course has to be in 12th house as I am Scorpio rising, but according to Placidus, I have Jupiter in the 11th house in Libra. Now, the way this distorts the harmony is that basically all Libra affairs for Scorpio rising are governed by the 12th house. And Placidus, by distorting those energies and suddenly mixing them, changing them for an individual, makes it so that the natural consequence and natural harmony of how those energies play together in a chart of any given rising sign, well, in my case, a Scorpio rising chart, it makes it so that basically it puts these energies out of order, because normally Libra ruling the 11th house cusp would be the case for a Sagittarius rising, who has Libra in the 11th house, and then Scorpio in the 12th house, so Sagittarius follows in the first house. And putting the planets in such a distorted perspective kind of, to me, ruins the whole psychological portrait of a person. Now, I know some of you might say that we are not all perfect and harmonious, so some distortions should be normal, but the thing is that we are. We are perfect in our imperfection, and harmony is one of the basic principles of the universe. Of course, there exists also chaos as the polarity to the harmony. So it kind of ruins the harmony of the whole chart to just move the wheels as you please. I'm going to put in some pictures to show you the difference between my chart in Placidus and my chart in whole signs, so you can see how the divisions between houses are not even at this point. And also, on a more personal note, when I was first getting in depth with astrology, my god, it's been like 10 years if not more, then the Placidus placements, they were different from whole signs, were the ones that I always had the hardest time to relate to. And then once I saw the whole signs placements, everything just clicked for me, and I just knew that it was the right thing. Now, I know that there are those who say that they relate to their Placidus placements more, but from my experience, more often than not, this happens is because either they A, got attached to them, B, they have another placement that makes them think that this is the energy that they identify with the Placidus placement, while in fact it's another placement. I really feel, due to my intuitive skills, that the harmony of the whole science house system with the logical consecutive following of one sign after the other is what truly shows a person. There still, of course, can be discordant aspects, and there will be for everyone, so if you're looking for that chaos and disorder, then there it is. My other problem with the Placidus house system is the existence of interceptions, meaning that basically some sign or house can rule two houses, while the energy of another pair of signs at the same time is void from the chart. This is something that I really disagree with, because I believe that we are all a cosmic makeup of our 12 astrological energies that just express themselves differently in different areas depending on our ascendant and on our personal planets. So just removing two energies like this out of a person would be impossible, because you'll be like cutting off a limb. I want you to look at any human being, even maybe someone you dislike, maybe even someone they just don't happen to have a personal preference for, and notice how perfect in our incompletion, in our disharmony we are as a creation. If you are able to see what I'm seeing, then you will know that it's just impossible to have a person be void of some sort of energies. They can be weak, yes. They can be very weak. Some energies can be stronger. They are going to be stronger in a chart than others. But a person expresses all 12 energies of the zodiac at a given time. And everyone has the potential to do so based on current transiting events or based on their relocation chart when they move around the world. Now that we have settled the whole Placidus/whole science question, I know that there are still some of those of you who may disagree with me, but it's your right to think differently, and so is mine to say what I think. Now, another debate that's very popular among astrologers is tropical versus sidereal or Vedic astrology. Now, this is a bit of a more complicated question, because why? Between Placidus and whole science, the changes they're tiny. They're at best a few planets move slightly, but essentially still there is a big degree of similarity. But when you move from tropical to sidereal, basically, in most cases, your entire rising sign and most planets are going to change for you. For example, my Scorpio rising in tropical moves to a Libra rising in sidereal, which changes also all my personal planets, moves my Venus from Capricorn to Sagittarius, etc., etc. However, in sidereal astrology or in Vedic astrology, what matters more is not even the energy of the planets themselves, but what matters is the nakshatras that rule the given houses. And if you know anything about Vedic astrology, you're going to know that a certain nakshatra is going to rule not one zodiac sign, but more usually the end of one sign and the beginning of another. So someone can have a planet in a certain nakshatra, and they can embody this energy of two signs. For example, to give myself an example, I have Moon conjunct Mars in the nakshatra Punarvasu, which is associated with both the signs of Gemini and Cancer. In my case, it's Cancer because of the degrees, but also someone with very late degrees Gemini who could also have the Punarvasu nakshatra. So these nakshatras and the padas, which describes how much advanced the planet is in degrees from 1 to 4, are going to determine your personality more in Vedic astrology. However, I also was deliberating over my own sidereal chart, not only from a Vedic perspective, but from the perspective of just this different ascendant and different signs. And it was a complicated thing to do, because my intuition was telling me a very interesting thing, that kind of both placements are true at the same time. Now, the way this works is that I felt like the energies that we associate more with signs have changed over time. The sidereal system is older, it's much older, and also this is honestly not my strong suit, so don't hold me accountable for any of the physics aspect. But basically, as the Earth keeps moving around the Sun, whichever direction that is. I don't know if that's correct. The Earth is not straight on its axis. It wobbles slightly, and in time it wobbles more and more. And with that, the angles, the degrees change, and thus every year the start of a new astrological season moves by a day, or in the perspective of years, of a couple of days. So that's why there is a 23-degree difference between sidereal and tropical astrology, because by now the change is 23 degrees. So basically sidereal astrology is kind of not updated compared to how it was in ancient times before the Earth's movement on its axis changed, while tropical is updated to Earth's movement nowadays. Yet somehow mysteriously I can still find accuracy in both of those systems. And the reason why I can find this accuracy is because I feel like the energies I associate with a certain sign can just be translated to a different energy in sidereal. To put this better in perspective, when I think of any astrological sign, yes, there are keywords that come to my mind because of my education, of my years of astrological study, but there's also an intuitive feeling that I associate with each sign's energy. And it's like a wave of impressions. It's so hard to put into words. Being intuitive is not easy. It's hard to put into words, and it's hard to truly convey this energy. Now, what I have found is that the currents of energy that I can sense, that, for example, I have been associating with Scorpio, are more something that, according to sidereal, would be associated with the nature, for example, of Libra in my case. And this is why I kind of really don't deny any of those house systems, and I think there is wisdom to be learned in both how to view a Libra energy differently and how to view a Scorpio energy differently. At the beginning, I was really resisting my sidereal chart because I'm really attached to my Plutonic influence, since Pluto and Scorpio are my most dominant chart energies. But then I realized that the darkness, the heaviness, the complexity can also be attributed to the influence of Saturn, which is one of the core rulers of Libra. So in this way, it kind of feels like I'm both. This is one of the truths of this universe, is that truth is relative and depends on the dimension that we're looking from and the perspective. So to our human eyes that just like to pick a side, they like to be black and white, it's hard to envision that something contradictory can be true at the same time. It's like this eternal question that we have: what was first, the chicken or the egg? And also the other thing that pops into my mind is the eternal question: is do we have free will, or is there a fate that decides all the events and even our actions for us? And the answer is it's a little bit of both at the same time. Just because there's fate doesn't mean that we don't have free will. And you see the contradiction of this kind of question is the energy this gives me is kind of exactly the energy that choosing between tropical and sidereal makes me feel like you should not choose. And there is truth of both these energies in you, and both of these house systems can be used to find the truth of who you are as a person. I know this may be difficult to wrap your mind around logically because it's an esoteric concept, but hey, you study astrology, right? So if you were not interested in this kind of topics, you would not be here in the first place, right? I feel like it really enriches our perspective to realize that contradictions can be a part of our life, and that they can really give more meaning and give a broader picture to our lives, to what's happening also in the world in general. And I think this whole question of which house system should I pick, should I do tropical or sidereal, which one of those is more accurate, kind of has this important lesson for us to really open our minds in such a way that we don't always have to make a clear-cut choice, to detach a little bit from having such a very firm opinion, like, there is nothing wrong with having that one, but when you have one, it's good to, keep your mind open and flexible to the bigger picture, right? So I hope that this video answers some questions for you guys. Like I said, I'm an astrologer and tarot reader and an intuitive and a spiritual coach. You can find the links to all my profiles under this video in the description box below, or you can purchase my private readings on Etsy, or just contacting me through my email account. I also link my other playlists where you can find tarot readings, my other astrology videos, and spiritual discourse. Thank you so much for staying with me, guys. Thank you so much for subscribing and leaving this video a thumbs up. See you guys. Bye.